Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. This is a brand new program on NACI TV, as yet unnamed, but you may know, if I put something on the front of this, what it's called by now, where we delve into the ins and outs of our school division, Beautiful Plains School Division, in terms of administration, in terms of trustees, in terms of classrooms, support staff. So over the coming months, we'll learn a lot about what's going on in our school division. Today, on our first program, our very first guest, I am pleased to welcome Mike Rainnie. He was the acting principal, now officially the new principal of Neepawa Area Collegiate. Welcome to the program.
Thanks very much for having me.
So the first thing I think we want to do is just get to know a little bit about you, how you came to be in Neepawa and how you came to be in the position of the principal.
Okay. Sure, happy to do that. So I guess if I go right back to my childhood,
Okay.
I would say most of my developmental years were spent in Boissevain. I grew up in Boissevain, small town, played sports, was interested in music, had a little bit of everything, that small town experience. I went to Brandon University when I graduated high school. I took a Bachelor of Science in Psychology with a minor in Math and History. From that point, after I finished my undergrad degree, I decided I wanted to go into education. Took a couple of years at Brandon University. While I was in Brandon University in my last year, I'd seen advertisements for jobs in Neepawa for Beautiful Plains School Division, being a growing community, lots of those ads. I was very fortunate in getting selected for an interview and being hired as a grade 6 teacher. When I started out of university in 2013, September 2013, I taught grade 6, and that was the first year that the grade 6 classes were brought over to NACI.
Right.
So they'd been moved from HMK.
That was before the middle school was built. So,
before the middle school was built, that's right. Yep. And so I spent a few years teaching grade 6. I coached basketball and badminton, and really grew to love the community of Neepawa, myself being quite interested in baskall recreationally.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, the community of Neepawa was a great fit for me. So I then kind of progressed, actually was moved into a position in grade 8. So I was teaching grade 8, so I got some experience with a different curriculum. Then I taught grade 7 as well. That's kind of a little bit of who I am, as I like to try different things. And so I was fortunate to have different opportunities in the middle school. And then I saw a few years ago that the high school was hiring for a principal. So I taught in the middle school after the middle school was created. And an advertisement was put out by Beautiful Plains for an assistant principal, working with, who's now retired, Kelvin Hollier. And again, I was a successful candidate for that one. And so I got to learn under Kelvin as some of the administrative responsibilities as the assistant principal. Yep.
And he'd been there for quite a few years.
He'd had lots of experience and had worked as an administrator in the school for quite a while. So I was very fortunate to be able to kind of draw on some of his experience. And then after he retired, the vacancy for the principalship was advertised, and I applied for that and was a successful candidate again. So, and that's where I am today. I was spent last year as the acting principal, but now this is my first year as the principal.
Officially.
Yeah.
Was administration something you kind of always wanted to get into, or was it a surprise that you sort of enjoyed that kind of work?
My father was an administrator, a school administrator, and a lot of people that know both of us would say that we have a lot of similarities. And so I wouldn't say it was a surprise that administration was something I was interested in. In fact, after a few years of teaching in the middle school, I'd become to think more and more about it. When I was teaching grade 7 classroom in the middle school, I actually started my master's in administration at Brandon University, thinking that this was something that I wanted to get into. Yeah.
Was it a bigger jump going from the classroom to administration, or from the middle school to the high school?
as far as the jump from the middle school to high school, I would say that wasn't as significant of a change for me. Definitely the bigger change would be from being a full-time classroom teacher to being a part-time classroom teacher, part-time assistant principal, and then now full-time administrator at the high school. So when I was teaching in the middle school, I had a lot of experience with middle school and high school students. Being a coach for a lot of the sports teams, I was still being involved with the high school students pretty regularly. So there are definitely changes though between teaching in the middle school and the high school, but I would say the bigger change in my life has been, you know, moving from the classroom to administrator.
So let's sort of examine a bit about what the administrator role is in the school.
Sure.
Because everyone knows, you know, there's the principal in the high school, and if you get in trouble, you talk to the principal. But what does the principal? What's the principal's scope of responsibility? Yeah.
So I think the scope is covers a lot of different areas, including school programming, making decisions around, you know, what are the courses that we offer. We do have, you know, interactions with students that are positive as well, not just the disciplinary ones. Yeah, so we talk about planning and making decisions about programming. We try to involve student voice in that, and so part of my job is, you know, touching base with students to get their sense of, you know, what they feel is important and what they want to do, and to try and make decisions at the school that are going to, I guess, aid students to achieving their goals. So when it comes to the responsibilities of the principal, they've got quite a wide range, I would say, whether it's staffing, and like I said, the school programming, touching base with students, but ultimately, I'm there to support the staff and students. That's kind of the wide scope of it. Yeah.
How much flexibility is there in programming in the school?
There can be varying degrees. So the Department of Education provides essentially a handbook of programs that are eligible to be offered, approved, department approved programs. And so generally speaking, our programs are selected from those. It's quite a large variety that are offered. Beyond that, there are opportunities for things like school-initiated courses. So these would then be submitted to the department for approval. And whether or not the department approves it is whether or not we can offer it as a course.
What would that include? What kind of courses?
An example would be, you know, we had addressed a while back, this is prior to my time as administrator, that there was a need for English as an additional language type courses for some of our students. The department hadn't really had a clear definition of what these courses would look like, so we had school-initiated courses for EAL credits. So for some of our immigrant students to attain credit through their learning of English as an additional language. Now the department has actually formalized a set of courses for that, but that would be an example of one school-initiated course.
Yeah, so people could actually acquire credit for doing that work.
That's right, yeah.
Sort of, and what would fall under, like, there's certainly core classes that you have to offer.
For sure. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we have a good selection of courses that are what we would consider compulsory courses for graduation. So the Department of Education requires, you know, at the grade 12 level, you have to have a phys ed credit, you have to have an English credit, you have to have a math. And then prior to that, you have to have, in grade 11, again, your English, your math, your history, and phys ed. So there's these compulsory courses for sure. We want to offer lots of those. And then we try to fill in additional options courses that might pique our kids' interest.
Are you seeing any trends in that as far as interests of students?
I would say, you know, we have a lot of good programs that are not the compulsory ones. Obviously, our compulsory programs are solid, but we do offer, so say for example, we have a lot of different courses in the computer sciences realm. So that includes robotics, would include computer science itself, so coding. We also have a strong or a building music program as well. We've had a great music program. We've got a new band teacher who's doing wonderful things with our band program. So I would say that a lot of our non-compulsory courses are gaining a lot of momentum, I would say, and the interest in each of those is definitely developing. Fine arts or our visual arts would be another example too, where we're growing in that.
And I know you certainly have a passionate teacher
Yeah.
for your visual arts program.
Yeah,
So.
I would say a lot of our teachers in any of our courses are quite passionate. Yeah, but definitely, our art teachers made herself well known in the community for that. Yeah.
I've heard a rumor that after many years of sort of contraction of interest in band, especially, it has actually been growing again. Is that something that's happening?
Yeah, that's true. We do also offer something new to our program as of last year, was something called general music.
Yeah.
So previous years we had a lot of band and choir, and we still continue to offer those, which would be more of your what people would think of as music classes, right? Where you have your larger ensembles.
Yeah.
But with general music, the focus is more along more of, I guess, a casual experience with music. So the instruments would be your drums, your keyboard, your guitar. So for more smaller ensembles, and really just to develop an interest and develop further those that are interested in that kind of music.
So it's not years of focusing on one instrument.
That's right. You get to have a little bit of a wider range of experiences with music, and a lot more, I would say, contemporary style of music. Yeah.
Are there any areas that you've sort of been wanting to expand in that you really haven't had either the space or the opportunity to do so?
I would say space is definitely becoming an issue in a lot of our programs. We're very fortunate that we have what we do have as far as programs and space. I wouldn't say at this point we're feeling in any one particular area more pressure than another. But we do know that with the new school being built for 2027. We still have a little ways to go until we get there. So we do know that we're quite full now, and that we anticipate space will be an issue until we get that new facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that new facility then, that is certainly going to, I think, broaden what you're able to offer, because it's a vocational school.
That's right.
So what sort of areas are we going to be able to move into with that school?
So with planning for the vocational school, we're trying to create flexible vocational spaces, which will allow us to have options in what we offer to our students for vocational programming. So some of the big ones that we're looking at would be our welding and pipe fitting, our carpentry. We're also looking at having heavy duty mechanic as well, and culinary arts. Those would kind of be the main ones. Within those spaces, though, we might have flexibility for, one space to be used as another and that kind of thing. So that's kind of, we're hoping to have some flexibility there.
And are those the sort of fields that you're seeing people go into apprenticeships for right now?
Yeah.
Is that the fields of interest?
Yeah, that would be, those ones would be the main interest levels for a lot of our students for high school apprenticeship. And then also thinking of, what's the demand in the Neepawa area and the greater area of the province and Canada itself, where do we
allow me to throw out healthcare? Is that
that's
sort of
right,
an option?
And that's definitely one as well that we're looking at including as well. Yeah.
Because sort of moving into staffing for the school, but also for a hospital that we have coming, I think there's probably going to be a lot of opportunity. For
sure. We know that the hospital is going to draw a lot of people hopefully draw a lot of people to the community.
Yeah.
Because there'll be staffing, which will, create further growth within our community, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then there will definitely be a need for, the healthcare workers and So that's definitely something we're wanting to have offered at the vocational school as well.
And so you've mentioned also that part of your area of responsibility is staffing at the school.
For sure.
How much of a challenge has that been?
We've been very fortunate. I would say in my years as an administrator, we've had a lot of good hires. And I would say, there are times where we kind of question, what's going to happen when we're hiring. Sometimes we're worried, but it's worked out, I don't know if it's if you believe in any kind of luck or anything like that, but it does seem that we're very fortunate in the people that we've been hiring. So hopefully that continues moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly with that growth, is there enough sort of new graduates coming out? Are you able to fill positions? Is it a constant cycle of filling positions?
It is a constant cycle, due to the nature, I think, of, human resources. We have people retiring, right? You have people that go on maternity leave. So it is a constant cycle of going through the hiring process.
Yeah.
I would say we do our best to work closely with the universities, University of Manitoba, University of Winnipeg, and Brandon University for sure, to try and make sure that we're staffed adequately. So whether that's bringing in student teachers or hiring people out of university, we do both of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we get a lot of student teachers coming through?
Right now in Neepawa Area Collegiate, we have two student teachers that are there. Both of them former students of Neepawa Area Collegiate. So that's good to see, knowing that our students are wanting to come back and be a part of that building. So that's kind of, I would say, typical for us, is to have between 1 to 3 student teachers during a student teaching session for the universities. Yeah.
And it seems to me, I may be wrong about this, you would know better than I would, our staff is really starting to skew younger just because of the amount of people we've had to bring in.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of it. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree. I know most of our hires have been what I would define as being younger. So yeah.
Not near retirement age.
No, exactly.
And people who potentially would be on mat leave.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so we do hire a lot of younger teachers, and like I said, we've been fortunate because they've been great.
Based on volume alone, you probably would need to be.
Yeah, and not to speculate too much into why that is, but you might have older people in the teaching profession maybe are more firm in their roots and they're not looking for those
stable
opportunities.
In their jobs right now.
Where we've got the young keeners that are looking for something. So yeah.
So let's kind of take a look at sort of a typical day in the life for you. When you go in the morning, what does your day look like? I mean, I know what your day looks like today. You're here. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. You're here. But
yeah, and one of the nice things about this job for me that I really appreciate is that typical is very a broad term in terms of what my day would look like. Some of the routines that I would have, though, usually I come in quite early in the morning, so between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. That gives me time to kind of get my ducks in a row before the day starts for everybody else. So whether that's planning for the day, whether there's meetings going on that day, but that's the time that I take to kind of sit down and prepare myself for the day. Then we have our students starting to arrive in the school between 8 and 8:40. Buses coming around 8:30, and I usually go out there in the mornings to greet students as they're coming into the school. So buses coming and students walking to school. I like to be out there and greet our students and get to know some of the new faces. And then throughout the day, it really varies as to what happens, because at any day there might be something that pops up that needs my attention, whether it's an emergency of some sort or whether there's a disciplinary issue going on. Those kinds of things happen throughout the week, and so those can really kind of alter what your day might look like. But beyond that, then it's dealing with planning for things like we have student-led conferences, for example, coming up. So organizing the student-led conferences and getting teacher times and those kinds of things organized for the community, whether it's correspondence with the community as well or correspondence with other people in the school system. The kind of the range of tasks varies greatly. And then we also have a fairly young staff in our office as well. We have 2 new secretaries in the office as well. So a portion of my time during the day would go towards training and supporting our office staff. So yeah, that's not a very descriptive or definitive description of the day, but yeah, it's highly variable.
Look different day to day.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of support network is around you? Like, what is the role of the vice principal to you?
Yeah.
And do you have like a regional body, a provincial body that you also are part of?
Yeah, so there are different administrator bodies that meet regularly, whether it's monthly or quarterly. My support group beyond Beautiful Plains School Division, like I said, I am actually still involved in my Master's of Administration, still taking courses, and so I, am relying somewhat on profs or colleagues in that class sometimes as a support network. Not too often though, because the need isn't necessarily there. Yeah. We do have a great administrative support network in Beautiful Plains School Division. So whether it's the Assistant Superintendent, Krista Reynolds, or Jason Young, the Superintendent, or other administrators, Val Perieski in the middle school, Alan Hankey and Scott Freeman, Sherry Hollier. We've got a really good team in Neepawa. And then beyond that, Carberry, Bruce McCollum and Ryan Robson as well. So anytime that I'm, struggling to figure out what to do, I've got a great network to kind of get in touch with and bounce ideas off of. Yeah.
Last time I sat down with Jason Young, we were talking about the increase in the population, especially in the high school and across the division. And I think the number he was throwing out was about 10 new students a month were coming in. Is that still kind of what you're seeing? Not necessarily all to the high school, I think. But
yeah, I think, starting with the history of September and October of this year, I would say that would be pretty close. I think we've increased a total of 19 since the start of the school year in September, so that would be pretty much on par with that.
Yeah. And what kind of strain does that put on both the school and also kind of developing curriculum to support students that are coming in frequently mid-year? So, and that kind of comes back to the planning and how do we plan, because we anticipate this, right? Like we know that Neepawa has been a community of growth for quite a few years now. And I would say that, when we're planning things like programming and staffing, this is considered. So I know when we're looking at hiring new people, whether it's the spring or partway through the year, our considerations are including what it might look like and projections for growth and things like that. So typically, a practice might be for us to, project a certain amount of growth and to hire to that level. And then, we go through that process year in and year out. As far as, other measures that we take at school to address, the challenges with a growing school, I would say we try to offer a variety of those core classes to provide flexibility for students, knowing that a class may fill up here, so we're going to need an alternative compulsory course for a student that might be new to the community. Yeah. Right. And so with the new vocational school opening not until 2027, are our current schools going to hold out till then as far as capacity? Yeah, I would say with projections of, if the pattern continued and we added 10 students every month, we would definitely be looking at, adding space, whether it's through portable huts or coming up with other creative solutions for spacing issues. We feel that at this point we're close to our capacity as far as instructional spaces for students. We're currently utilizing 2 huts at the high school. So growth, beyond what we anticipate this year will mean we'll need some additional spaces. So I know that the superintendent and the assistant superintendent work closely with the department to make sure we have the space that we need. Yeah. Which is, I think, another ongoing situation for the last decade probably has been. That's right, yeah. And, thinking further into that, projecting our growth and, we have a plan for a new school coming out in 2027. We want to make sure that when that school is built that it's adequately equipped for our students. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that you want the community to know about the school or about your role in the school? That's a good question. I'm not certain that I have anything in particular, a message that I want to deliver to the community. But I like to think that I'm a fairly open person, so that if there was anybody that wanted to know something, they could certainly get in touch with me at the school.
I'm all for open communication and building community. So if anybody had questions, I'd like to answer.
Great. So we're actually running low on time. I do want to take a couple of minutes to talk about things that are coming up in the school within the next month or two.
Yeah. So I mentioned in the interview that we do have our student-led conferences coming up. So that's a great time for families to come in, put a face to the name as far as teachers, and build some of that community with our teachers' families and students. We also have a hockey game coming up, which is a kind of a mental health fundraiser, also supporting our food bank.
Okay.
So both the communities of Neepawa and Glenborough experienced significant tragedy last year. And so in recognition of that and to try and move forward and continue to support our students, there's a fundraiser game on the 10th between Glenborough and Neepawa, and proceeds from the game will be donated to the Neepawa Area Collegiate Breakfast Program.
That's at the Yellowhead here?
That's at the Yellowhead.
Okay.
Yep. We also have a band concert on December 14th coming up, which I would encourage the community to come out and enjoy. It's usually a pretty packed house, but it's also usually a pretty enjoyable experience.
And that's at the school gym?
That's at the school gym.
Okay.
Yep. And aside from that, we have volleyball ongoing. So we have kind of the season starting to wind down, getting into the playoffs time. So lots of stuff going on. Those would be the big ones, I guess.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. I actually learned a lot that I never really understood about how things ran. So it's been a real pleasure having you.
Thank you. It was nice to be here, and it was nice to meet you.
Okay. And thank all you for joining us. I hope to see you again next time.